This video is going to focus on rubrics, the mechanism of creating a rubrics, the usage of rubrics. Before we start talking about how to create a rubrics for a student-centered learning environment, let's define rubrics. A rubric is a type of scoring guide that assesses and articulates specific components and expectations for an assignment. Rubrics is used for a variety of assignments, such as research papers, portfolios, presentations, learning tasks, group projects, and so on. Since we are saying that rubrics is a scoring guide, it means this guide should include all the essential information to have a valid evaluation, fair evaluation, and consistent evaluation among all learners. In addition, the rubrics should guide the students for their next learning improvement step. So, what are the steps to create a rubric? Let's start with step number 1, which is identify the standards. As educators, every single practice that we have should be hooked to the standard. Standards are one-sentence statements of what students should know and be able to do at a certain point. It will begin with a phrase such as students will be able to, which is abbreviated as SWBAT. Let's take some examples. If we talk mathematics, students will be able to add two-digit numbers. If we're talking social studies, identify the causes and consequences of the Revolutionary War. If we are talking science, explain the process of photosynthesis. Step number 2, select an authentic task. As an educator, we need to find the way where students can demonstrate that they are fully capable of meeting the standard. The language of a well-written standard can spell out what a task should ask students to do to demonstrate their mastery of it. For example, for the above-mentioned standard, which we have spoken about in step 1, it is as simple as saying the task should ask students to describe the geographic, economic, social, and political consequences of the Revolutionary War. That might take the form of an analytical paper you assign, a multimedia presentation students develop, whether individually or collaboratively, or a debate they participate in, or even an essay question on a test. Step number 3, identify the criteria of the task. For step number 3, you want to ask, what does good performance on this task look like? Or, what will I know they have done a good job on this task? In answering those questions, you will be identifying the criteria for good performance on that task. You will use those criteria to evaluate how well students completed the task and thus how well they have met the standard or standards. Step 4, create the rubrics. To build the rubric, you will begin with the set of criteria you identified in step 3. Once you have identified the criteria you want to look for as indicators of good performance, you next decide whether to consider the criteria analytically or holistically.